Welcome in, guys, to another special edition here of the Living Deadwax podcast. Kind of a little bonus segment here. So there was a thread going on the Hoffman boards the other night that I was following, lurking in, and I sent Tyler a screenshot of that. Basically devolved into like, who's the biggest band of all time? And the reason why it even got brought up is because we'll bring up the news article here, but Queen and Disney, I guess, are rumored to be selling the rights to the music for upwards of $1 billion with a B. Your initial reactions having heard that, Tyler?
I told you, because I didn't know that was the context of what you sent me. Because when you sent me that screenshot, it was just a guy arguing that Queen was the biggest band,
Yes.
I sent you. It was 3. I woke up like in the middle because I fell asleep on my couch and I woke up at 3 a.m. and I saw you sent me a text at midnight or whatever it was, and I was like, all right, I got to reply here. And so I sent you a pretty lengthy text, basically just breaking down why that wasn't a thing, but whatever.
Yeah.
People are insane. So I did not know the whole context. But once you told me the whole context today, I was thinking about this, and I just said it was disgusting that was a thing, because for $1 billion, we're talking about the entire catalog of Queen, which they have a healthy catalog, but they also haven't done anything of note that you would want since '92. So there's 30 years of just garbage, like like the live stuff with most of it not with Freddie. There's still like the live, I think Montreux, I think, is out there and stuff, but majority of it's not with Freddie anymore. It's with Paul Rodgers. It's with Adam Lambert for the live records most recently. And I think they're working on a real record. I'm not sure, but majority of it you don't want the last 30 years for. So you're arguing about the prior 20 years, I think, of Queen, I guess, the 20-year total. And I think there's 7 or 8 records. And to pay $1 billion for that is just ridiculous when you compare it to what everybody else has sold their catalogs for recently.
Yeah, which we'll talk about, because there's a good article I'll pull up here that breaks down other purchases. And again, this is just rumored right now. Nothing's official. And people might just be trying to feel the tea leaves out and upsell this a little bit to make it seem like it's worth $1 billion, mainly Disney and Queen.
Yeah.
But we'll go over like what other people have sold for, and it's not even near $1 billion. So that argument that kind of devolved into the biggest band of all time was, a lot of people were saying, well, if Queen sells for $1 billion, what's Led Zeppelin sell for? $2 billion? What do the Beatles sell for? $8 billion?
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
Actually, yes, actually.
So, and then that devolved into, well, Queen's already bigger than Led Zeppelin, and they're way more relevant still. And it just mostly turned in a lot of Led Zeppelin fans and Queen fans being butthurt at each other, which I found funny. But the comment I specifically sent you was a screenshot of a guy commented like, Queen's not even like nearly the biggest band in the world. The Eagles are bigger. And he listed off Metallica and all these other bands, right? And the guy responded to him, and main thing was the Eagles, because the guy who responded said, if you take out North America, Europe, and Japan, the Eagles aren't even close to Queen. Yeah. And my thing to Tyler was, if you take out basically the only areas that people care about selling music, then yes, the Eagles are not as close to being as big as Queen.
And the justification is, they went to South America. Look when they went to South America. Look when they played Russia. What are we talking about here? Like, all these bands, because all the bands the guy listed, the guy quoted that guy, whatever he quoted, like Metallica, all those bands, whatever, they all still play those areas today, and they played them whenever they were able to, right? Early 90s, 70s, whatever, right? They played. It's not like Queen played to more at the time. Like, if you want to make that whole argument, whatever, Metallica played to 1.7 million people in Moscow. Like, that's not a thing that Queen ever did. So and
also
Rush
Queen
to like $1 billion, or to play to 1 million people for Russian or Rock in Rio at one point. Like,
yeah, so is Maiden. Like, and I'm not saying Maiden's the biggest band in the world. So like, it devolved into a lot of that, and like, it was funny because people were arguing on Queen playing in Russia, and like, they played in associate states of the Soviet Union, but they weren't even technically in the Soviet Union. So a lot of people were even arguing semantics about that. Like, they never played in Russia, and Yeah, it was really, yeah, we're getting into late 80s, early 90s fucking
Fall of
politics
the
here.
Soviet Union.
So it was a really interesting thread, but I'll just pull up the Variety article here that kind of breaks it down. So yeah, Variety, how real is Queen's $1 billion catalog deal? This is from June 1st, 2023. So after months of murmurs, news broke just before the long Memorial Day weekend that, according to unnamed sources, the surviving members of Queen were in the process of selling the group's catalog for a mind-boggling $1 billion. Universal Music Group, the world's largest music company, is said to be the likely buyer. So there's a potential buyer there. Two sources says the deal is Universal's to lose, although Sony is said to be waiting in the wings. I don't think Sony has that money. Not gonna lie. So yeah, it goes into the Queen's history and selling to Hollywood Records and Disney and all that stuff too. Also, it talks about in February, they reported that Michael Jackson is in the process of selling half of his catalog to Sony, and that's 800 to 900 million. I would figure that would be bigger than Queen, but I don't know much. But I think more people know who Michael Jackson is around the world than Queen. I understand Queen played in the Soviet Union.
Yeah, you're not thinking about that. Why aren't you doing that math? Michael never played in the Soviet Union, dummy.
Very true. They're going to talk about big Queen hits. But yeah, I mostly just want to talk about bands selling their catalog, whether this is worth it, like a wise investment. It's really strange to me. And again, they talk about too, like this is all still in the works. This just might them be trying to pump the number up and leak it out to the media to say, yeah, this is really worth that. Here's some other artists, recent artists that said a lot of this is just undisclosed valuations that doesn't really help us.
Yeah.
Bieber, 200 million.
Yeah.
Like I would think that would be higher than that if Queen is trying to get $1 billion.
Yeah.
Dre, 200 million. Keith Urban is undisclosed. That had to be like a giant amount.
Yeah.
Huey Lewis only 20
Country
mil. I
stuff.
don't know what you're doing, Huey. Selling yourself short against the Joey Ramone estate. 10 million for publishing rights. Yeah, this just happened to Phil Collins, Genesis, 300 mil.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, Justin Timberlake, undisclosed.
Future sold his. Future's only been a thing for like 10 years.
I guess, yeah.
Wow.
Undisclosed amount. There's another article I'll pull up that it has more data as far as potential amounts.
Yeah.
JT, only 100 million. Not that long ago. Seems low. Especially when we're starting at $1 billion. Sting, 300 million. Neil Diamond, be curious to know that amount. Kenny Chesney, again, curious to know 80% of music royalties, I guess.
Coverdale sold. Wow.
Yeah, January 2022. So 100%. So sold everything, undisclosed amount. There's a second page here, I think. Yeah. Bowie, estimated 250 million.
Yeah.
Dylan, 200 million. That's more because they also bought the publishing rights too, I think.
Okay.
Or something else. I think that's almost $500 million now.
Yeah.
ZZ Top estimated to be 50. I feel like that's really low considering you hear ZZ Top in everything all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's also so much, it's 50 years of music.
Yeah. Bruce, 550 mil, which
that's the
that
biggest
seems
one.
As of now.
Yeah.
I think Dylan gets close with the other rights, which we'll look at.
I've said for years I've been wrong. Apparently, maybe I made this up, but I swear to God I read this. I thought they bought the live catalog too. That's what I thought happened because the 500 is just for the records. I thought they tacked on like 300 million for the live cuts. Well, but when I kept looking that up today after we talked with this, I couldn't find anything that supported that. So maybe I made that up.
Okay.
But maybe. So Bruce still owns the live stuff apparently, and they just bought the studio stuff and whatever.
Yeah, I have some other ones you can pull up too. Like I said, it has more stuff. Motley Crue, estimated 150. Tina, 50 to 80. Justin Timberlake's on here twice. Chili Peppers, 140, which seems way low to me.
Yeah.
That's so low. I don't understand. I understand Bruce has like more music, but Chili Peppers are still not that, you know what I mean? Like Chili Peppers are still relevant.
Yeah.
Like they've always been hip.
here's the thing:
and
is
a
like
cool
you
band.
and I talk about this every time we talk about this stuff. Is like like so a lot of this is obviously so you can like pump out like represses, you can pump out like remasters, you can do whatever, but most of it from what my understanding is syncing and like and rights to like Hollywood stuff or like commercials or like commercialization of the music.
Mhm.
And when it boils down to it, like a lot of these people, we don't hear this. Like I don't
I mean,
hear Chili
I
Peppers that often. I don't hear Bruce ever.
see. Here's the thing. I realized the other night, and I wanted to talk about this too. It's another reason why I wanted to bring this up. I don't watch a lot of new mainstream movies. I watch a lot of new horror films.
Yeah.
So the other night we watched the Super Mario Brothers movie, and the Beastie Boys were in it. AC/DC was in it, and who else? ELO.
Okay.
So I'm like, maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm not watching enough of these like big mainstream Hollywood movies. I watch a lot of stuff, but like the last like mainstream Hollywood movie I watched outside of like the Mario Brothers movie is like Spider-Man, and that just has like new songs in it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then also like The Northman, which obviously you're not going to have any
No,
licensed songs in that.
that's
But
the
but
point.
but anyways, I was like, maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe these songs are being used more. But again, it was like AC/DC, Beastie Boys, ELO, which it was Mr. Blue Sky, which just gets licensed for
Yeah.
everything. It's the only song Jeff Lynne ever wrote, apparently. And
Yeah, yeah.
I find it sad and also funny that that's like the only song kids are going to know ever by Jeff Lynne is that Mr. Blue Sky, which is a great song. But
Yeah.
Neil Neil Young got 150 million estimated for 50%. This is a
Yeah.
ridiculous amount of money for that.
Hey, I, I didn't talk to you about this, and this is coincidental that we're talking about this right now. So, I saw the produce one of Manchester's producers, TJ. He works on their production team. He works on their live crew. I follow him on
Okay.
Instagram, and he reposted today in his story a producer who I don't know the name of, but he's a big deal producer. I forget now, but they asked him about AI's proliferation into music. What's his thoughts on it?
That's where I
And
wanted to bring this.
his thoughts were that it's going to basically like maybe it won't affect like ACDC, it won't affect Bruce Springsteen, maybe, but because there's the people still want those songs. If you really want ACDC songs, you're going to get ACDC songs, right? But what's going to happen is if you can get AI to write and create ACDC ish songs that will give you the feel without actually paying for ACDC music, that's what's going to happen. So, like, a lot of people are selling now because that's kind of what we're boiling down to is like, hey, these might be worthless because if you figure out if people are comfortable hearing sound alikes basically and cool with hearing just the vibe of these bands, then
Yeah.
these songs are going to be worthless or not worthless, but you know what I'm saying, like damn near. So you're not going to get these money offers ever again like this. That's why you're selling it.
I don't yeah, and I don't know where this ends, and what these deals include. Like
Yeah,
are you buying Bob Dylan's voice in perpetuity?
that's a
Can you
whole other
start
thing, right?
can you is AI going to when it gets so advanced you can just say write a Bob Dylan song and AI
Hmm.
spits it out and generates a Bob Dylan voice with his style of lyrics and songwriting.
Yeah,
I don't ever want to really get there, first of all. And I could see that this is where this is going. Um, because honestly, to me, that's when you start making your money back on the investment. I don't see how you'd ever make $1 billion back on Queen. It would take so many years to get back to zero,
if you're
unless you're
licensing it for
just,
everything.
yeah, licensing for everything, reissuing everything to death, which everything's already out there anyway.
Yeah,
Like Hollywood Records has kept that stuff in print for a long time.
yeah.
So I don't I don't know where this ends, and like I don't even know where you get the money back other than trying to get other people to invest in it. And that's just you're just trying to scheme other people out of their money to like, hey, come invest in Queen. Like it's really weird. Like it's
It's really odd. Like the investment thing. It's funny you ask or you say that because Bowie in I don't know if you ever heard the story possibly, but Bowie in like 96, 95, 96, Bowie did a thing called I think Bowie Tunes. and you could actually license, like, it was like a stock market basically exchange where Bowie licensed his entire catalog out for like a course of like 2, 3, 4, 5 years, something like that, whatever. And he was paid a licensing fee, and people invested in his basically Bowie stock. And it's whatever he made for that 5 years went to the stock. So if you could, for that 5 year or for that 3, 4 year span, or whatever, he sold his catalog to you for, licensed the catalog. If you made more than whatever his initial price was, then you got to keep that money. And so people, like, that was supposed to be a thing, and it really
Wow.
worked out. So like, it was an investment in his music that it never, like I said, never shook out the way that people wanted it to shake out for. But that was the first kind of step to this whole, the new era of whatever the licensor is.
Wow. Interesting. I never
Yeah.
heard that.
Yeah.
Here's another source, a journal of musical things. I think it's like kind of a blog, but this links to other articles and stuff, so I think it's fairly accurate. But this goes into the Dylan. Sony acquired the master recordings for 200 mil, and then Universal gave him either 300 or 400. So he's potentially over Springsteen,
Yeah.
depending on the source, I guess. There's Neil Young again, Stevie Nicks 100 million, which just seems low to me. Imagine Dragons 100 million, which seems really
That's
low.
insane.
Those are just commercial. They're literally just written for commercials. They're
Yeah.
commercial songs, like they're
Yeah.
car selling songs.
Literal commercial
Yeah,
songs. You're right. Yeah.
yeah. Disturbed sold. Price undisclosed. The Killers, everything up to 2020, which I didn't know
Yeah.
until I saw this.
See, I think that's kind of how you know that this is like this. There's a timetable on this, because the Killers, I mean, they only have I mean, we're gonna do the ranking, but they only have 7 records. They have
Mhm.
16 at that point, 16, 17 years of music, and those records are, a lot of them are huge and they have big songs in them, obviously. But there's a timeline on here where you need to get out, and the timeline is within the last few years or so. You have to get out if you're gonna get
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Basically everybody in Fleetwood Mac is sold by this point. Ed Roland from
Yeah,
Collective Soul sold all his rights. Bob Rock sold his Metallica Black album rights.
yeah.
It's interesting. Silverchair. There's just Beach Boys, which another source said this is only 100 million, and I'm like, that seems really low.
Well, I
You're
heard
gonna,
they sold the band.
but if it for 100 million, okay, if you include the band in there, it's even more ridiculously low. You're
Yeah,
gonna give
no, you're right.
Queen right now. The rumor is Queen's getting $1 billion. What have you heard more in your life in commercials? The Beach Boys or Queen?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not Queen is used a lot. They are used a lot. I don't know if they're used $1 billion worth. I don't think, like, grant you, like, this is forever,
They might
right? It's
they
forever.
might have to
So
be.
yeah. So like forever, I guess at some point there will be, you'll be back, in the black, right? Back in black.
Mm,
But
maybe not in
it's
that.
gonna take a while.
Maybe not in a lot of those investors' lifetimes, though. So, like,
100%, you're right.
I guess you're investing for your children and their grandchildren and stuff like that. But like, it just seems like such a pyramid scheme to me. It
Ooh.
seems
So I don't mean to interrupt you. So
okay.
Prince's estate sold almost 50% stake of rights to name and likeness.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know this or not. You might know this. Prince was a Jehovah's Witness. Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know all about if we have Jehovah's Witness fans out there, apologize if I'm going to mess this up. But Jehovah's Witness fans, I believe, they don't like um artificial stuff like reproductions and things. So when Prince played the Super Bowl, he had a major problem with projections of his image on these like weird fake screens and stuff in the
Oh,
stadium.
okay.
He didn't want himself actually exposed into that. He didn't want that projection out there. He didn't want his likeness to be like that. So
Interesting.
for religious purposes or whatever, right? So it's
Mhm.
really interesting to me that his estate, who has already done tone deaf shit to him before, after he
Yeah.
passed, because he notoriously would throw away records because he just recorded constantly. He's kind of like
There's
Eddie, but
a new a new Prince album just came out today.
well, that's insane. But like just like Van Halen, like Eddie would record everything, but Prince would do the same thing, but he would actually record the
Mhm.
entire record. Like he would have full albums that he would pull last minute and stuff that he never wanted out there. And his estate's just doing that now, obviously, right? And obviously because they sold it. So that's an insane thing for the family to do, but whatever. I'm a
Yeah.
huge Prince fan, but.
No, if it was against his wishes or religious beliefs, yeah, it's scummy. Like it truly is. Yeah, it's very scummy. Whether you are down with Jehovah's Witnesses or not, like if he wouldn't have liked that
He
living, why are
would.
you doing it in his death? Yeah.
That's why, like, when they put out the Nothing Compares to You, like, demo, like the original demo, like that he never really wanted out there, I kind of felt weird listening to it because I was like, he really didn't want this out there.
So here's your Bruce thing. So this
Okay.
this is reporting 300 songs, 20 studio albums, 23 live albums, and more to Sony.
Okay. That
So
makes sense.
yeah, I would have to click that link to go in there deeper, but
So the live albums, I
um,
assume, is all stuff he's professionally kind of released ish, like DVDs and everything else. Whatever. I may see that, but obviously he records every single show, so I don't like that wouldn't include all those. I suppose I made my
yeah.
assumption.
Def Leppard, an additional stake in their music publishing catalog. Interesting. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the states of Lane and Mike Starr both sold.
Wow.
And the rest of Alice Chains. Okay, 50 million. Neil Diamond, 300 million is reported here. That's yeah, and Bob Dylan share the traveling. So he literally just sold everything. Also,
Yeah.
traveling wheelbarrow stuff.
Yeah.
My whole kind of thing with this is truly about the AI stuff. Where does this end? And really, what's the end game? Like, I'm cool with it if we get reissues and stuff for stuff that we want. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, also to tie it back to Queen, and then we'll kind of ramp this up. I don't think AC/DC sold. The only thing I could find on AC/DC was they signed a new publishing deal with Sony like 2 years ago just to publish the stuff. They have not sold yet. If
Yeah.
Queen is 1 billion, what is AC/DC?
Yeah.
It's 2 billion, 3 billion. What is Thunderstruck and Back in Black worth?
It's insane. So another thing, again, we're talking about these pricing. If you go back up, Iggy Azalea, scroll back up real quick. So right there,
Eight-figure deal.
8-figure deal. Iggy Azalea has one record that people care about, and like not obviously a lot of people care about her fans, I guess, right? But like she's
Sure.
usually panned by everybody that cares or whatever. But she has one record that has like 3 big songs in there, and Fancy's the biggest song. She sold basically the one record that anybody cares about 8 figures. So 20 or 10, 15, whatever $1 million. Insanity. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and like this goes into like yes, everything relating to their Atlantic output to Warner. Okay, price undisclosed. I love Yes. Okay, like what are you just you're gonna license Roundabout a ton
Yeah.
or Owner of a Lonely Heart? Like I don't know, like because it's not pop
There's
music.
a
Like it doesn't.
finite
Yeah,
amount
and
of
it
songs to
doesn't.
do.
Yeah, and it doesn't fit into. I love Yes, I love Prague, I love Genesis. Like and most of the Genesis shit was the price is because of Phil Collins solo stuff, but like I think there's a returning like diminishing returns after a while, you know. Corey Hart sold, it's one song. It's one song. So like my point, like we're close. Like Judas Priest sold their first 2 albums, which is funny because those are the albums with the weird. The first album and then Sad Wings of Destiny. Those are the ones with the weird rights. Back in the day. So yeah, yeah. These are just list of artists, other artists who sold stuff.
Yeah, Tom sold all his when he got divorced.
Like Queen, okay, Journey. What is "Don't Stop Believing" worth if Queen is worth $1 billion?
It's the
10 billion?
It's the most. It's the number 1 song ever sold, right? It's the most popular single ever.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, if that's, I mean, again, I guess the market, the inflation, like the literal inflation, but also the inflation of the market, I guess. I still think $1 billion is just too, like, it's just insane to me. Like, when you compare it to everything else, like, and then there's like, there probably is. I might be undercutting it a bit. There might be 12 songs of Queen that you could license. They're huge. They have 30 huge songs, 40 huge songs, whatever, right? But there's probably 12 songs you could license to almost anything. Movie, commercial, television show, like whatever.
I mean, the big ones off the top of my head right now are the big ones that you're buying right now are "We Will Rock You," "We Are the Champions,"
Another One Bites the Dust,
and another one bites the dust, "Bohemian Rhapsody." Like those are probably the big 4. There is other ones, but those seem to be the big four. Like I don't like to your point. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm not watching enough TV commercials, stuff like that. It just seems like when these people sell, you never hear this stuff and things, and then you don't even really get reissues and stuff. So it's like, what is the purpose of this other than just to sit on and collect streaming money? I guess if you buy everything,
So
I don't know.
we talked this before with how new music comes into play. Memeable songs, memeable bands. Queen is very memeable.
Sure, there
If
they
you
are.
run through this, A Kind of Magic, Don't Stop Me Now, Crazy Little Thing Called Love, you can see TikToks and reels and whatever the hell and
Yeah,
shorts and stuff. You can
I,
see this in your brain right now.
you
Like that's all
can.
you're buying now.
I think they missed it though, because I don't think kids today are into Queen. I think our generation and a little younger are into Queen because of the movie,
Mm.
mostly. I think it's gone. Like I think that boat is sailed. So like unless Queen gets in Stranger Things, I don't
Totally possible.
I don't see it. I understand what you're saying. I just don't see that happening. There has to be a trigger for that.
Yeah.
Like there has to be
I
put into something to usually trigger that to happen. And I don't know where Queen will Stranger Things, that's where it'll happen. But
To be fair, for the kid, like the thing of the age range you're saying, whatever, when we watch vinyl collection videos, they
yeah,
have a lot of those, teenage girls or whatever. They talk about they
you're right.
intro with "in my favorite band of all time," and they show the Bohemian Rhapsody soundtrack, and that's just
I,
what happens, right? Like that's the thing, and like
yeah.
that's so I guess it does appeal to their audience. I don't know, like it just
I guess part of it too, I'm pretty biased here. We'll wrap this up pretty quick, but I'm pretty biased too when it comes to Queen because
you don't
I
care.
don't really respect or care about Queen. I respect Freddie. Like I don't care about Queen. I don't think Queen is relevant without Freddie.
Yeah,
I think if it was a different singer, Queen is nothing. Like they're literally unknown. I also think they're way lesser known if he doesn't die, and then the way that he died.
yeah.
I think
See,
it's a little bit of a Nirvana thing.
I was gonna say
So
you're kind of running the
yeah,
Nirvana thing.
yeah. I mean, I think Nirvana is way more influential than Queen, a billion
Mhm,
times. But
mhm.
my point is, I think Nirvana has lived on because of Kurt and his mystique, and he didn't live long enough to kill the mystique.
Yeah,
Um, and neither did Freddie. And the way that he died, he became an icon for better or worse, whatever your opinion on is. It doesn't, it's irrelevant.
yeah,
But he became an icon for a lot of people.
yeah.
Uh, so, and he was a great talent. I'm not undercutting that. Now, to go against my point, they tried to do the solo stuff, and then he just ended up back in Queen. So, I don't know. I don't know. Like if it would have happened, like you figure he just would have broke away from them like immediately. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's at this point, like if Queen had to start over today, if they were not playing Queen songs anymore and they were playing Adam Lambert, Brian May, and Andy no Roger Taylor songs,
Yeah.
if they were playing those songs now, the Roger fucking the Paul Rogers record on, I guess, whatever, right? People probably wouldn't care at all. It's the fact you have that catalog, which we're talking about right now, is important. It's a very important thing to have. They have a very luscious catalog,
Mhm.
obviously, with Freddie. It's just like, I don't know. I'm with you. Like I like Queen. I do like Queen. I'm not the Queen guy. Like I don't like I like the songs and I like a few deeper cuts, I suppose. But like I'm not a Queen guy. And so I have kind of the same ish opinion on it. It's just like
I
that's just like
yeah,
$1 billion just insane.
I think as a band, I think they're one of the most overrated bands literally ever.
Yeah.
Like
And
break it down, like as a band. I'm not take Freddie out of it. I'm talking
yeah.
about as a band, like and take those. This sounds stupid, but take the iconic songs away. Get to the deep cuts, okay? And this is the argument that people are making that they're bigger than Zeppelin because they're way more relevant than Zeppelin now. All the kids like them and all this stuff because of the movie and all this garbage,
Yeah.
and because they played the Soviet Union. Um, but I don't know. Like, I think Zeppelin. just has way better records top to bottom, and they
Yeah.
still have a respect. Like, and maybe that's because of Jimmy protecting stuff. Maybe he's too protective. I don't know.
No,
But
you're
like,
right because they're notoriously don't do stuff. They don't.
maybe that's for the better.
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it's not better for them, but they're already, they've already got more money than they'll ever need anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Uh,
It's a really, really interesting kind of
Also,
time.
just points out there. Not only did they play the Soviet Union, they also played Sun City. So
No.
a little apartheid money in there.
Yeah,
Whatever.
very true.
Yeah.
Very true. But yeah, we live in interesting times. If you have any thoughts on this, leave your thoughts down below. Yeah, I'm curious to see if this goes through. I think it will. I don't know if it hit 1 billion. I think it'll be the most of all time, though.
I mean, it's only trending upward, right? And like these,
Mm-hmm.
I think if they get 1 billion, and again, like we just talked about Zeppelin, I don't know if they're going to sell. Like they kind of like they are so protective, and Jimmy, that's his entire life. Like his entire life is still to this day, every day about Zeppelin. And so I don't know if that would even be a thing. He obviously is a state or whatever, maybe later, but I'd be very curious to see what they sell for if Queen's 1 billion. Like if there's a lot of avenues for Zeppelin. They're not memeable in the same way, but they're also like they to have the Zeppelin catalog. It would be insane.
Yeah, to the same point though, if you're buying Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan stuff, none of that's really memeable, and
No,
you're already spending $500 million for that. Like Led Zeppelin is still way more popular than Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen, and then Led
Dylan.
Zeppelin's
No,
no,
Dylan
go
is
ahead.
not memeable. Dylan got the money. Good for. I'm not down. I want everybody to get every dollar they want. They can get whatever, right? Get their money. But
Yeah,
like with Dylan in particular, Dylan's not in a lot of stuff. Dylan doesn't get played in the radio. Like Dylan might a handful of songs here and there, whatever, right? But like even when I was listening to classic rock radio every day in middle school
yeah,
and whatever in elementary school, very rarely would you ever hear a Dylan song. And you're not gonna hear a Dylan song. You're not gonna hear Hurricane or Times Are a
yeah.
Changin' or whatever in the Guardians of the Galaxy 9. You're not going to hear it. It's not really a thing that crosses over like that. The
Yeah,
appeal isn't there. The fact that he got that 500 million, again, good for him. There's a lot of box sets. There's a lot of like things that are coming out since then that they're making money on, but I don't know if you're making 500 million back on it, man. I don't think that's a
it's
thing.
and it's strictly a legacy buy because, like you said,
Yeah,
there's really no memeable like let's bump this, get this in commercials type of thing.
100%.
And I don't even think there really is that with Bruce either. So like they're legacy
He's
buys.
more
So like
pop, but
if you're
yeah,
yeah,
I'm with
no
you.
100%. But if you're gonna strictly talk about legacy, then okay, yeah, then Zeppelin's worth over 1 billion. They're worth over Bruce and Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
So I don't
And
know,
if the
man.
Beatles, if anybody's ever able to wrangle the Beatles rights from the various people or people that own them all together,
Yeah.
that's $8 billion. That's many times over.
Yeah. Also,
It's
I also
crazy.
don't want to limit. I also never want to see the day or have my daughter see the day where like you get. I'm gonna listen to the Beatles or Led Zeppelin or whatever, and like, oh, there's a new Zeppelin album, and it's just AI because it's just gonna be weird and confusing for people,
Yeah.
and just sad. Like, just listen to the old shit. Let the old shit fly. You know it's coming. It'll happen with somebody. I don't know if it's gonna happen with that big of a name, but it'll start somewhere. They'll try
Well,
it. So
there's already there's already I haven't heard this yet, but Corgan just talked about this. Somebody did Kurt singing a pumpkin song.
no, okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
Corgan said he hadn't heard it, and he didn't want to hear it. But somebody did that. I guess it sounds good. I guess the whole thing's good, or whatever. Well done, I should say. It's well done. But yeah,
Yeah, it's weird
it's not
times.
fun.
Strange times, they are coming. Anyways, guys, we appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time for a little bit of news or vinyl pickups or the main topic, which we do every week here on the channel. So stick around, hang out with us, and peace.